Hi, hello, hi, and welcome to Our Hearts and Minds. Thank you again for tuning in. We're here to discuss all things that have been on our hearts and minds, the good, the bad, the concerning, and uplifting, or just straight talk. We're your hosts, Kimmy, our passionate heart,
Yeah.
and me, Jeanette, your mind and chronic overthinker. Let's get into it.
Yes, please and thanks.
All right, the girl, how are you?
I'm okay. This week wasn't that bad. It
Yeah,
wasn't as
last
much.
week I was feeling a little bit. I was like, damn, my girl had a rough week.
Yes, it was a little easier this week. I mean, I was still busy, but I got through it. I got through it a lot easier. And yeah, we're just starting to get more excited about the wedding. It's, literally 3 months out from when we're going to get married. And so yeah, it's like crunch time and getting things together and all that stuff. But overall, the week wasn't bad. Like God brought me through another one, so I really can't complain. The
Awesome.
week before, though, I was complaining. Trust and
And
believe.
you can complain every once in a while. It's good
Every
to
once
vent.
in a while. It was rough, though. It was a
Actually, I
rough
have a
week.
question as you lead up to your
Mm-hmm.
wedding. What's one thing you're most excited about for that day, I guess?
Um, you know what? Walking down the aisle towards Rodney.
Ooh, that's gonna be emotional.
It
I'm like,
is.
I
It
could
is.
tell you right now, that's like, it doesn't matter whose wedding I've gone to. It's like that is like the most emotional. I
It
feel like
is.
outside of maybe the speeches, if people get too into it, but like when you see the bride walking down and you see the bride and the groom looks at her and you're like,
That's what
and
I want. That's what I'm
you can
excited for.
see that
Yeah.
the groom's knees about to knock a little bit, but
Right?
he's holding on.
Shake a little bit. Yeah, no, I'm excited because I don't think he's seen me like that done up before,
Okay,
and
yeah, it'll
so
be a real reveal.
like a real reveal. Like I'm not saying that I don't,
You do, I
spiffy
know,
up when
but
I'm ready,
like,
but for the most part, I mean, we've been together for 7 years, so he's had moments where he's seen me and like, all nice and poshed out, looking nice and take, but this is a different level because I don't really wear a lot of makeup. Like I don't wear makeup. Let's just put it like that. I don't wear makeup on a regular basis. And so when I'm going somewhere or I'm doing something, that requires me to spiff up myself, I'll put on some makeup and stuff like that. So I think him just seeing me dolled up like to that level, I think, yeah, I wanna see some tears. That's all I'm saying.
His best man better hold him up.
Hold him up, yes, because I plan on looking great. So when he sees me, so that's the thing, yeah.
Okay.
Rodney. Oh, Anywho,
Yeah.
yes, my
We're
man.
recording.
Like, he's getting excited too.
Yes, good.
He's getting he's like, it's getting closer and it's around the corner. And I'm like, yeah, I know, before you know it, right? And
Yeah.
so we're excited to get married and start life, really. The wedding is just gonna be like the whole I guess jump off. So
okay.
yeah. But how was your week, girl? What's going on? What's popping?
Okay, so I came back. It was a long weekend and I was away last week, so I was a little bit, that anxiety you feel when you go back to work, even if it's just a regular weekend. You're like, okay, what's the week have in store for me? Okay, but considering that it was a long weekend and I was away for a week, it was not too bad. It was just kind of catching up and looping with people. It was kind of quiet, which was like a godsend for me because you need to ease in. Work my way back in. So next week it's definitely not going to be that, but that's okay. That's life. That's what it is when you gotta go to work.
And to say honestly, like, it's good when that happens because you get to familiarize yourself without being thrown into this and thrown into that. Like, you can get reacquainted with things. When you have like a slower week. I've been in situations where I come right back from vacation. It's like I never left. Like there was no pause. But it's like just throw me into the wolves.
I don't know if you notice this or if it's the same for the culture and the industry you work for. But generally, even when I was working in the investment side of things, summer usually tends to be a little bit more. Things kind of ease a little bit. It's not like you're still working hard and there's still
Mm-hmm.
shit going on, but I find in general, because I find more people are thinking of vacation, more people are more chill. Like after that quarter three, or like going into Q3 of the year, it does get
Yep.
crazy again. But I find summer is a little bit of a lull, depending on your industry. Maybe certain other industries it's different, but in general, I kind of feel like there's an ease back, and especially now with COVID,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like companies and employers are trying to give their employees breaks where they can, like summer hours and all these things,
Mm-hmm.
and as they should, personally, because
We need
it's
we it would be nice if we could find a nice balance and we didn't have to, be a part of this rat race 24/7 all the time.
mhm.
But I do find in most industries, unless you're into like landscaping or to agriculture or something like that, this is the chill back kind of, your pace can slow down a little bit. I find that we're the busiest during the winter,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
like the
that's so
colder
weird.
months.
They're near the end of the year, and you're just like, can the holidays
Oh
come?
yeah. Oh
So it
yeah.
could be.
I just need January 1st at this point. Like I need to be in a different quarter. Like I'm done. I'm done.
And you know what? You know what? I'm usually. You know what? It's because everybody's racing to that holiday time, and then it's like, and then about I would say about the second week of December, everybody just,
Mm-hmm.
excuse my language, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody just fucks off. Like,
Yeah, pretty much in a nutshell.
and you're just
Um,
like, sometimes you do have a lot going on. And you're like, but if everybody else is,
No, I follow the trend in
I
the
follow the
office.
trend.
I follow the trend because if that's how they're moving, why do I have to be the busy bee?
I'm not
Like
gonna
why,
be
what?
that
I'm not
person.
gonna be the busy bee. I'm gonna
No, no,
slow
no,
down
no, no.
like the
As
rest of
you
y'all.
guys start to enjoy your approaching holiday season, I'm a join you in that too.
Right? And
See
why
you
shouldn't
next
I?
year.
Shoot, see you next year. You love saying, see you next year. Yeah, I will see you next year. And next year is when I'll start working hard again. Thank you. Because you need that time, you need that slowdown period. Like you do need that slowdown period to just catch up. And like when you're in a corporate environment, you need, time to maybe organize or readjust things or get prepared for the new quarter coming, because best believe they're going to crack that whip. Best believe that first quarter, after Christmas done pass, most businesses, they want to be on their grind, like
Mm.
they. And I also find, now that we're talking about it, I also find that the first quarter or the beginning of the year for a company, they like to clean house.
Yeah.
They like to clean house. They like to, all of a sudden, you don't see Janie anymore, or all of a sudden,
Well,
somebody, quit or whatever. I find that most businesses, that's the cycle in corporate environments, is they clean house right after because, the budget. The budget has changed.
oh
So,
man.
but with all jokes aside,
Mm.
work is not the only part of our lives, but
No.
for some particular reason, like it seems like it is. It seems like that's what people are pushing for, especially over here in the Western
Well, I
world.
think, okay, if there's anything that I think the pandemic, of the many things, good and bad, that has done to society in general, generalizing,
Mm-hmm.
is that those, like, if you're enlightened, you know that you consciously try not to make that the case, because
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't lead to your work can only give you a small fraction of satisfaction,
Mm-hmm.
even if it does that. You're lucky if you have even that. But
Yes.
like, it's not, like you said, it's not everything. And yes, it's a lot, because we spend, we're in Western culture, and we spend eight, one.
80% of our time at work.
So you kind of have to make it the best out of it, whatever it is. Or if it's not a good situation, move to a situation where it is kind of bearable,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a
Mm-hmm.
lot of our life. But I think the pandemic made people to think outside of work, and
Oh yeah.
or think of work, and bring in other factors when you're thinking of work outside of pay and title, it's like, am I fulfilled? Do I get, like, what am
Right.
you have to feed other things outside of your essential
Mm-hmm.
need to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I think more people are conscious of. I mean, I've
Yes.
always been conscious of that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some people who are kind of just on the grind, and I think the pandemic helped people to stop, get out of grind mode, and think about the whole package, the whole picture.
Yeah,
And
and to speak on that, what you're saying, when the pandemic initially hit, yeah, we don't know, the fear of unknown. But then as I started to think about it and as time started to go on, I felt like he just shut down the world. He said no. And it wasn't just to the Western world, it was to everybody around the world, that if we keep going on the speed and the trajectory that we were on, where's the longevity, right? And so I feel like we were forced by outside powers to slow the hell down, slow down, reevaluate, because I've learned that since this pandemic has started, people have seriously sat down and reevaluated their life. They've reevaluated their career, their involvement with their family, having a work life balance. People are reevaluating, and a lot of people are saying, okay, well, it's great to have that money, right? But as we've seen with businesses, some have closed, some have had to, scale back on their employees. Some companies have this huge overhead and nobody's there to actually use it. And with that, people have like scaled back and said, okay, wait, let me reevaluate what's really important to me. And so a lot of people have become entrepreneurs over this time. A lot of people have gone to school. A lot of people have, just trying to invent things or reinvent things just to find, I guess, what they're looking for. If it is money, then, elevating yourself to get more money is the way to go. If it's not, and that you're looking for, a work life balance, like, and for me, like, I've always looked at life that way. There has to be a balance between my personal life and my work life. There has to be, because it's like a hamster running on a wheel. After a while, the hamster will get tired and they'll stop. So I want longevity. So how do I find longevity? And that is by for me, having a balance between the two.
yeah.
So it's not easy, especially in the Western world, where it's like we're pumped to think that this is the way we should live. We should always be the worker bee who never gets a vacation, who never gets to relax, who's always on tense, who's always on 10. And I feel like it leads to a lot of, societal issues as well as personal issues. So there always has to be a balance. At least for me, that's what I aim for. So, hey,
Mm-hmm.
teach their own.
Okay. Yeah, we kind of got on a tangent there, but you know how it
We
is,
did.
everybody.
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna follow last week's kind of show and how we did things. Keep it loosey goosey.
Mm-hmm.
And we're each gonna kind of bring a headline or a topic or something relevant that we want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about in our headline section. And so I will open the floor and start with I'm going to go with a topic and something relevant, and I think it's something I brought in one of our the liming episode that we did.
Mm-hmm.
We vibing and we libing.
Yeah, liming and vibing. Mm-hmm.
And Atlanta, show it completely ended. Series ended, not the series, the season ended. I think it was last week,
Mm-hmm.
and I caught up. But there's an episode in particular, and it was called Trini to the Bone. And you know why I Trini to the bone.
Yes.
So that is us having Caribbean background. You could see why I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, no, now we're getting something that hit home. So
Right.
episode 7. Okay, so the theme is, because you want to bring it back. I want, we could have a conversation, but essentially the theme is about Caribbean people who come to North America and become nannies. It is I don't think it's as common as it was in the 70s and
Yeah.
maybe the 80s, because I know that's something that when my mom came here, that's something that she did as well.
Mm-hmm.
In between, before she kind of, when she was doing her courses, before she got
Mm-hmm.
to work in the bank, that was something, it's just an easy job. They're literally looking for Caribbean people to
Mm-hmm.
take care of
Mm-hmm.
their kids and clean and, keep the house tidy or whatever. And so in this episode, Trinity to the Bone of Atlanta, it's more some. So the thing with Atlanta this year, they kind of mix. So they had episodes, they interlude episodes with the main cast that we know,
Mm-hmm.
with Earn, Paperboy, and everybody else. And then they had one off episodes that would have a theme, very Jordan Peele-ish, Get Out-ish, and in
Mm-hmm.
between. So, if there's one thing I did miss is that I did wish that we saw more of the Atlanta cast, but they're always going to give they're going to give you something to talk about. Even if it's a topic or you don't, or you feel like that's not your position, it's going to give you something to talk about. So in
Mm-hmm.
Trinity to the Bone, we open up, and it's really important to see this. They open up the scene where the father, it's a couple, it's a family, a small
Mm-hmm.
family with a little boy. He's about 6, and the father is listening to some hardcore Tupac on his run to is his run, all right, and he's
Mm-hmm.
jogging or whatever, and he come in, and the boy is just watching TV, and the mom's trying to get him to eat, and he won't eat, and the mom's giving him eggs Benedict. If anybody knows, that's a fancy eggs, poached eggs with hollandaise, and they're
Mm-hmm.
giving this to a little 6-year-old, and he's
Wow.
like, it's too bland.
Mm-mm.
You know what that means.
Yep.
But
Sure do. Mm-hmm.
anyway, I'm not gonna go through the episode, but the themes I kind of want to bring in that was interesting is, and we
Mm-hmm.
know these stories where the boy, his parents are just focused on work, including his mother,
Mm-hmm.
work, 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 and they're happy that they have a nanny to pretty much do it,
Mm-hmm.
tend to the child. And even for their parent day, the parents missed it, and Sylvia, who is the Trini woman who was looking after him, went with
Mm-hmm.
him. And so that morning they get the news on the phone that Sylvia passes. And they don't
Mm-mm.
tell the little boy until later that day, because obviously they don't know what to do, because that's his
Yeah.
caregiver. That's who's really caring for him,
Yeah.
in all honesty. And in the
Mm-hmm.
show they make a lot of clues
His
and indications.
mama. That's his real
Yes,
mama. Mm-hmm.
yes, and they make a lot of clues and indication that the parents prioritize everything else but this little boy, because they hired somebody to deal with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when they okay, so they finally tell him, and he says something to her, the parents, and he's like, can she come back so I could say goodbye and then die? So he's like, they're trying to explain to him. So
Poor
he's a sweet little boy,
baby.
yeah, right? And they're like, they don't know what to do, because at the end of the day, it's their child, but they're distant from him because,
Mm-hmm. They don't
again,
know him.
they
They don't
don't know
know
him. They do
him. Mm-hmm.
not know him. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually finally debate, and they take him to the funeral, and it's a real
A
Trini
real Trinity boy.
homegoing. We call it a homegoing, right?
Yes.
But the funeral. And so they greet the boy, and the boy's like, I can't remember the little boy's name. What's his name? I'm gonna find it. Oh, side note, Chet Hanks makes an appearance.
Oh, yes.
uh, in a very funny way, but whatever. Chet Hanks is there,
Mm-hmm.
and shoot, they don't have the little boy's name, but anyway, let's say his name is Timmy. I don't know, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
making up, I know his name, but and Timmy's like there, and he's like, they exchange some sayings. I don't know if it's a word. You can't bring a cock to a foul, you can't bring a dog to a foul fight. That's a common
Mm-hmm.
saying. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's something that he says while they're trying to park, and the parents are like looking at him, because they're basically exchanging these Trini sayings, right? And the
Like,
parents are looking at each other like, what? Okay, so then
what the hell have we done? Our little white boy is talking like a Trini person,
and
but
then so the intro of Chet Hanks is he's talking on the phone like with a Trini accent. It's
mm-hmm.
terrible, but Chet Hanks is, if Chet Hanks is gonna do anything, it's gonna give you a bad Caribbean accent.
Right?
And then they're like, oh, so they're like,
Especially.
are you family? Are you Sylvia's family? He's like, no, she used to look after me. So that was pretty much giving a glimpse of
Mm-hmm.
what little Timmy might have been if he stayed in the care of Sylvia, right?
Right.
And so I'm gonna fast forward. It's a typical Caribbean
Going
homegoing.
home.
Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
bringing up the bad and the good. And
Mm-hmm.
then, so everything's going good. And then one of the daughters is sitting there looking hangry in her face, screw face.
Mm-mm.
Then she pauses everything and she goes up there and she said, my mother was never here for me or her kids, her other kids, and my brother and sister. She was always watching other people's kids. And so she's obviously hurt that she missed out a lot of her mother,
Yeah.
because she was taking care of other people's children for
Yeah.
income. But
Yeah.
something that the pastor says when he taught in her eulogy is that she came here and she was a dancer for Alan Eiley, which, if
Mm.
anybody knows, Alvin Eiley dance troupe, which is a huge dance troupe in New York. So she had
Mm-hmm.
dreams, but she had to support her family back home. So
Yeah.
what she did is she took the nanny job and she sent money back home for all her sisters and brothers, including her own kids, as well as
Mm-hmm.
bringing her kids here.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like she had to miss her own family to make money to
Mm-hmm.
support her family. And
Which is
that
a hard thing
it's
to
a
have to do.
and so that's really the heart of this and why I kind of wanted to, as much, it's a great episode. It's very beautiful. It's a solid show. I think that and anybody, catch up on it when you have time. But this was like closer to home because we know that struggle. We hear that all the
Mm-hmm.
time, Caribbean or not.
Many Black people have had to deal with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And
And I
where
want to say Black people specifically,
mhm.
or of color,
Yeah, I
because
know Filipino. There's
Filipino,
Filipino
a lot of
nannies.
Filipino people, that's what they do when they come here.
Yeah.
Because they're not, they need, maybe there's a language barrier, maybe they need training, maybe they
Mm-hmm.
need education, they have families, they're looking for a better opportunity.
Yeah.
So they come here to make, to get jobs that can either pay them under the table or jobs that don't require a lot of education because they don't have that yet, at least their
Yeah,
certification of
it's just
wherever they're
something to
from.
carry. It's an easy. You know how to cook and clean and look after kids because that's what you do. Like that's just natural, right?
Big time in the West Indies.
Yeah.
It's a village. Everybody raises everybody's children. So
Mm-hmm.
you might be on one street or in an area and all the kids, and all the kids might come by and get a little roti skin from you or something. And so that's just the way you're kind of brought up. And in the
Mm-hmm.
West Indies, one thing I do want to note is that the West Indies, they domesticate their women very young.
Yeah, it's old school.
Very young. So this is something that's second nature to her, so therefore making money at it, why not? You had to, it's just the reality. And when I, even growing up as a child, I was domesticated very quickly. Like
Yeah.
by the time I was, and when I say domesticated, I know that sounds like I'm making myself out to be some sort of an animal, but I'm not. I mean, being able to cook and clean and iron and take care of house and do all of those things. Those were things that were required of me very young in age. I mean, I was cooking right beside my mom by the time I was like 5. She'd pull a chair to the counter and come here, let me show you this. And so this is something I'm going to check it out. I didn't actually know about this program, which I feel late to
Atlanta. You haven't watched any of Atlanta?
I haven't. I'm
Okay, it's
sorry.
very good. No, don't feel bad. I know you have a real life.
No, you're too much. But you know why? It's because
it's so
I'm gonna
much.
take a look now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take a look now. So
And
I'm
even
glad
if you don't have time to catch up because this is a season 3, but this episode in particular, it's there's so much going on, and I'm not even telling you. I just want to get to the heart of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot to say where when Sylvia dies, and that again, that bitterness of giving her love and her attention to these families versus depriving her own children. There's something to say where when she dies, she takes little Timmy with her. She has him. Her culture has him.
Yeah.
And again, when she dies and they name the episode of that big song, we always hear Trinity Bon.
Yes.
And he's singing that. They end it where, okay, there's this very eerie part that's very Jordan Peele. We're running on time. I'm going to end here. But throughout the episode, there's this ominous knocking on the door, and there's a package that's still trying to keep on being sent. And it's to Sylvia, But because she's dead, the owner, the husband, is always sending it return to sender. But every time you're getting that heavy, intense police knock at the door, very ominous, and it doesn't click to me to the end where it's like, oh, that's her ghost. Because the boy said she wanted her to come back to say goodbye. And when the father finally gets pissed off at the end of the episode, it's like they keep on sending this thing back, and he opens it. And it's the pictures of the parent night with him and Sylvia in her red suit, blouse and skirt, with this ominous look on her face, and they both look very. It's very Jordan Peele-ish, like it's very ominous. That's the only word
eerie.
I could say. Eerie, yeah, that's the word. And it's like, and then I got it. And I'm like, wow. But anyway, watch it for yourself. It's very.
I'm gonna say, yeah. I'm glad you told me now. And it's not like season 7 or something. Like,
no. I think
on season 3.
I think the next season is probably going to be the last one. But it's like, Childish Gambino has a lot going on. So the fact that we are even going to get a 4th season, great. But yeah, let me know when you watch some of Atlanta. There's so many episodes where we could talk about. So when you do, if you want to, let me know, because I'm always down.
I will.
And they end the episode with the eerie version of the little boy, little Timmy, singing, "Trinity Bun. Trinity Bun, I want to go home." No, actually, it's Sylvia. They start with the little boy, then it cuts into Sylvia's voice saying, "I want to go home to my sweet, sweet TNT." And I was like, God damn, this episode. But anyway, just some commentary there. Deep. So deep, I can't get into it, but I got to the heart of it. But anyway, what were you going to talk about, Kim?
Yes, well, you know what? I wanted to talk about this Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case, because I have been in the last few days like really engulfed with it. And it just reminds me of the 80-20 rule. Now, I don't know if anybody knows about the 80-20 rule, but I'm going to explain it really quickly. So there was a movie, Why Did I Get Married, from Tyler Perry's earlier days as, a film creator. And he created this movie, and it had, I think, 2 sequels to it. I think it was 2 sequels. But anyhow, in it, there's a situation where Jill Scott was one of the main characters, and she has a husband who, when they got married, they were young and in love, and they didn't really know each other. And so when they got married, he flipped mode. And, Jill Scott put on some weight in their marriage, and he became very nasty and abusive to her, even though she gave him 80% of what he needed. So she wasn't able to give him everything he needed because, well, to be quite honest, she needs something for herself. And she's a mother. She wasn't a mother. She didn't have kids with him. But she was a daughter. She was an auntie. She was a godmother. So she has to give her love and her time and spread it across the board. Also, she has this group of friends. So we figure out later on in the movie that this group of friends, they're all married couples that go on retreats.
So where does the 80-20 come in?
I'll tell you. So basically, in the marriage with Jill Scott, he leaves her for another woman, okay? And he cheats on her. He treats her horribly. He leaves her for another woman who's skinnier, younger, beautiful, and all of that. She's the 20. She didn't cook. She didn't clean. She didn't care about him. She couldn't make him laugh. She just wanted to spend his money. She didn't give 2 shits about him. However, she was beautiful, she was young, she was thin, all of what he thought he wanted. But what he actually needed was what Jill Scott was giving him. She was giving him companionship. She was cleaning up after him, cooking for him, taking his stupid ass abuse, even going that far. So she was giving him 80% of what he needed, and this other girl was giving him 20. And towards the ending of the movie, they part ways, they divorce. She moves on. She starts to feel better about herself. She gets married. She loses weight. Now he's stuck with his 20. Okay. His 20 don't do nothing but spend his money. That's all she does. Okay. And she's not faithful to him. So in the ending of the movie, that girl that he left his wife that was giving 80% of what he needed, left her for the 20. The 20 ended up walking away, spending all his money and cheating on him the same way he had cheated on his wife. So to bring that back to the Johnny Depp situation, because there is a point to the madness.
Okay.
So in this situation, Johnny Depp was with Kate Moss between 1994 and 1998. They were together for 4 years. They loved each other. They had 2 beautiful children. They never got married. Johnny Depp never married her. Then, towards the ending of their relationship, he started to cheat on Kate Moss with Amber Heard.
No, he was married to somebody before he met Amber Heard. It was
what was her name?
Vanessa Paradis. That's who he has his kids with.
Oh, that's who he has his kids with. I thought it was Kate Moss.
They broke up way before. But go on.
Anywho,
he basically replace
the same 80-20 rule.
Yes.
So he now has his 20, and his 20 is suing him. Well, he's suing his 20 for a defamation lawsuit. She has gone out and pretty much destroyed his career.
Yes.
Pretty much has destroyed. And, you know, Johnny Depp, we learn more about him, and he comes from an abusive parent, an abusive family. This is not new to him, being abused by a woman. And so we find out during the case with Amber Heard that she has gone out of her way to break him down into absolutely nothing. And for the first time in history that I've seen, a man is actually fighting this to the death.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not giving up. He's not settling. He's not going to let it fly. He's not just going to bow his head out gracefully and walk to the side. He's fighting it tooth and nail. And he's winning. And when you watch different excerpts from the trial, you can see that this woman is lying through her teeth. She is putting on an Oscar performance in the courtroom. All of her lies have been revealed. They've been exposed. You can see that she definitely, with a vengeance, came after Johnny Depp. And it's because he finally, after being abused for almost 23 months that they were married, he said enough is enough. And he left her. And they got a divorce. She got a settlement of $7 million that she supposedly pledged to a domestic abuse organization. Yet she hasn't actually given them the money. So she has dragged this man's name through the mud. And now we're seeing how wicked this woman really is and how demonic some of her actions are. And Johnny, you should have stayed with your 80, bro. You should have stayed with, I thought it was Kate Moss, but I guess I was wrong. But he had his 2 kids and he was with that woman. What's her name? Vanessa
Paradis.
But
you're right. He never married her.
He never married her, though. Mm-hmm. He never married her. They had a good family. They had a good run. They were obviously in love. But here we come along with Amber Heard.
Before I go on, I think even though Amber Heard is clearly a narcissist, one thing we do know is that Johnny Depp is an alcoholic. So who knows? I think, and there were issues in that relationship with Paradis.
There definitely was.
Again, we don't know. Amber Heard came and swept him up. She's young, she's beautiful, whatever. But I don't think that relationship was already on the rocks anyway. Because
I think the relationship was definitely on the rocks from the beginning. Because I strongly believe 2 negatives can't make a positive.
Exactly. So
if you're gonna leave the woman that had bare children, they were together for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. I have to do my facts on that because I did think it was Kate Moss. But anywho, she brings up Kate Moss in the actual trial. So maybe that's where I got that.
He was with Kate Moss for a while, but I mean, again, another cokehead.
He's not, she's very much a cokehead. However, he's not an abusive person. I know that their relationship was on the rocks. It should have never actually happened. And that's why I felt like talking about it, because this is an 80-20 situation all right here. When you have what you need and you're willing to just toss it aside for some fresh thing that comes around your way. Well, now, Johnny, look, shouldn't have done that. You should have left her alone. You should have left Amber Heard alone. I think Amber Heard She preyed on his weakness. She knew that he was an alcoholic, and she knew that he dabbled in drugs. And I think she ran with it. But when you take a time to look at this actual trial and to see the type of nonsense that she was creating, she was the one that was contacting the publicity, or the different, like TMZ, for instance. She was the one that was leaking stories. She was the one that was trying to break this man down. And it's just so funny because this girl has such a Jezebel spirit, but because he was so taken up with alcohol and drugs, he didn't see the trees for the forest. Like he just couldn't see it. But now it's gotten to the point where he more than sees it. She literally destroyed this man's career. She destroyed his life. He can't walk with his head held high. And there's one thing in the whole trial that Johnny Depp did say when he was being cross-examined. And he said, this is one thing that I will have to carry with me for the rest of my life. No matter the result of this trial, I will always have to carry this for the rest of my life. It will not go away, even if I win. So, and the reality of that is true. It is true. When you have such accusations like she has called and has said, there's no way for him to come back from this. It just, first of all, I'm not saying Johnny Depp was washed up. Don't get me wrong, people. No. He wasn't washed up.
If anything, this incident washed him up. Her accusations washed him up.
But this right here
killed his career.
Yeah. So as I was saying, with this whole Johnny Depp situation, it's the perfect example of 80-20. You had what you needed, and you just couldn't leave it at that. Now, I don't know his relationship that he had with Vanessa, if it was, on the brink of outs. I don't know. But either which way, you went for something that's not what you needed. You went for what you wanted. And now you got a whole lot of what you wanted in your face in the courtroom. And it's sad to see that. Specifically, I wanted to address this nuance, and that is, Amber Heard, you're making this domestic violence thing a joke. And it's sad to see that you're doing that, because there are women who on a regular basis, on an everyday basis, are struggling with domestic violence in their relationships and in their household. So for you to make for you to use that as a way to connive and to, break somebody down, to me, it's disgusting. I'm not saying, I wasn't in their bedroom, I wasn't in their room, I don't know what they had going on, but I will say, you didn't lose any fingers. Okay, Johnny Depp lost a finger from this. Okay, so there was violence. It's just sad that she literally ripped this man's career apart. This is someone who is pulling in $100 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay, to basically having to sue in a defamation lawsuit, and I think he wants 60 or 20 mil or something like that.
I think he put 50 mil, and then for defamation, and then she countersued him for 100 mil. This girl's a mess, and gonna move on. But
yeah, my
little 2 cents is that she is a classic case of a female narcissist. And it's funny because when the accusations first happened, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I was just like, damn, that's crazy that's what was going on behind closed door. I didn't take Johnny, even though we knew Johnny Depp was I always knew he was an alcoholic, but yeah. I feel like we'd know sooner if he was hitting women and shit, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. But then that all these videos came out about the real, I would see, I don't know if they're defamation or what, but they'd be the real Amber Heard, and interviews with Amber Heard being mean or whatever. So then I saw all these interviews with her and people, and she's she's a narcissist and a chronic liar, just a pathological liar. And very so it's her credibility is out the window. This whole case is a clown show. Johnny
is. And
everybody's a character. I don't know.
It is very much a character. And it's an abuse of the judicial system, if you ask me.
Yes.
With all that's going on in the world, this is
crazy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But
yeah,
you know
that's it.
what? Hey, it is what it is.
Mm.
But those are our headlines, and that's what we decided to discuss this week around. And we're gonna move on into the call
The
outs.
call out.
Now, the call out is this is where we put each other in the hot seat. Now, I feel like I'm in the hot seat because I'm not prepared for this right here.
Mm.
My question is kind of yeah, but I'll rock with it anyways.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what is no, I'll go with this other one here that I have here. What life lesson did you learn the hard way?
A life lesson I learned the hard way. The hard way. I feel like all the good ones are learned the hard way. Um.
I'll tell you one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't mix your alcohol. Don't mix your alcohol. Don't do it. If you want to stand upright, don't mix your alcohol. Mm-hmm. I learned that valuable lesson. Trust and believe me. University taught me a lot more than what was in my books. Best believe me, because why? One night I decided, oh, I'm gangster with this. I'm good. I can do what I want. I'm good. Decided to mix everything under the moon. I mean, I didn't just pour it in one big glass, but I went from I started out with beer, then I went over to some brown liquor, then I went over to some red wine. Yeah, needless to say, that was the one time in my life I got so drunk I threw up crossing the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor. Okay? I went out with friends. We went over to Detroit. We think that with gal. Yeah, couldn't get back in the car now. We're leaving. We had to cross over the border. We went through the tunnel, but we crossed over the bridge. Yeah. So I had my head, they had to pull over. I had my head hanging out the car, throwing up my soul. I look up, and all I see is water, bro. That's all I see is water. I'm on a bridge. I'm on a bridge. Okay. Oh my gosh. Don't mix your alcohol. Stick with one. Drink lots of water in between. And one hangover cure I learned. If you want to avoid hangovers altogether, take a bottle of water and put it right by your bed. Put it right by your nightstand. Put it right by your bed. If you have to put it on your bed, just make sure you have a bottle of water there. Before you go to your bed, I don't care how long it takes you, drink that whole bottle of water. That whole bottle of water. Because when you wake up in the morning, you're not going to feel that the head pounding and all of those hangover symptoms. You're not going to feel that. The water will help to hydrate your body as you sleep. So I learned that the hard way. No, I'm not in those days anymore. Those days are long gone. I don't drink like that no more.
No.
But
I feel like that's one of the reasons why you don't drink that much.
You're damn right. You're damn right. I learned valuable lessons. Sure did. And if I'm going to drink now, I just stick with one something. If I'm going to go with the brown liquor, that's what we're doing all night. Brown liquor, because I'm not about it. But that's an example of something I think I learned the hard way.
Okay, yeah, that I could throw my hat on that one too. I think I shared my story already in that one, but yeah. I think okay, I'll use a recent example. There's so many, but on the spot. Okay, so when you're going to travel, remember we talked about traveling while back. I don't know while black. I don't know if I said it, but when I went there, I was supposed to rent a car and be driving all up Alberta and seeing all the sights. And then I got there, I went to the car rental, and the guy gets all my IDs and stuff, and he's like, oh, your birthday's tomorrow. Your driver's license is expiring tomorrow. And I was like, what?
Oops.
Oops. Say what now? So
Come again.
So as a result, needless to say, I didn't have a car when I was in Alberta. That was the plan. And now I know, usually when we travel, we check our passport. It was local, so I didn't have to check my passport. But I never thought to check my driver's license. So now I know if I'm going to travel and I plan on renting a vehicle,
There you go.
Check your driver's license.
Yes.
Okay? So
Check everything.
that's
Make
just a
sure.
recent one. There's so many life lessons, but on the spot, that's what I have for y'all today.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Me too. Mm-hmm. So what's yours for me then? What's
Okay,
popping?
so for me, okay, so here I'm gonna. This one's deep. This one's deep,
Okay.
kind of. I
Okay.
don't know. So I was gonna say if you could share an example, or even tips or an approach that you use where you had to set some boundaries. Nowadays, we're grown women. When I feel like when I was
Grown.
younger, when I was as a young woman, I'm specifically speaking as a woman, because I think women get their boundaries get trampled on and
Oh
dismissed
yeah.
very easily in general. But
Yeah.
like, and, when you're younger, it takes a while to find your voice and
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So that now we're healthy, well into the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? Is there an example of when you had to set a boundaries, or even approach? What's your approach you do to set boundaries?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say an approach. I could speak
Mm-hmm.
on that. And my approach is it's a few things. One is you deserve to be heard just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what you have to say is just as important as Tom, Dick, or Harry over here. So don't ever think that you need to quiet yourself or you need to be less firm with what you're saying because you're a woman and you might be in certain spaces. I've learned that. Another thing that I've learned is you gotta stay true. You gotta stay true to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because people will tell you what they think you should do or what they think might be best for them.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to stay true to you. Don't ever lose sight of that. And that goes hand in hand with you can lie to the world, but don't lie to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the problem starts. If you're going to start lying to yourself and thinking, well, maybe they are right, or maybe I should listen to them, or maybe, nah, bump that. Nah, stay true to yourself of what you believe in and what you want to do, and go forward with that without any hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't lie to yourself about where you stand.
Yes.
Don't mix crossover and do all of that. You have to be confident enough, and as you said, age. When we're talking about age plays a factor in that.
Yes,
It does.
big time.
It does, because I'm a lot more confident in myself now as a grown ass woman than I was maybe, when I was 20, early 20s even. And it's because you're still trying to figure out who you are and where you stand on things, and what you're willing to deal with and what you're not willing to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate. And that comes with the time and experience.
Yeah.
But as a grown ass woman now, right? I'm gonna do what I need to do. Period.
Exactly. And you know what? I think where age really plays a factor, like you said, is energy levels. Like just
that too.
Energy. Like maybe when you're 20, you have energy for the nonsense.
This is it.
But at this stage, especially if you have kids, you have a job, you have a mortgage, all these things. No, you have to protect your energy.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought it up. And a story that I want to keep it general, keep it general. But like a scenario is like, even okay, so say if you're dating somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just in the talking stage, you're in the talking stage, and you're probably talking to multiple people because
and what's wrong with, there's nothing wrong with that.
As you should. How
are you gonna find what?
How are you gonna figure out until you had to play the game? Shoot. Anyway, and so if you're doing that, and say you have somebody who's constantly overstepping, and when I say overstepping, there's like a possessiveness. There's like they want some accountability of your time. They want to monopolize your time on the phone. None. Like all these things are signs of people overstepping their boundaries.
Right.
And obviously there's ways, as if you're dealing with two grown adults, I think simply expressing what you will and will not tolerate.
Exactly.
That's it. That's setting boundaries, especially in that stage. And of course you could do that in a kind and not dismissive way, and being, well, typically, this is a scenario, for my own, I'll feel more comfortable if these are the times that you reach out, or like these are not questions I'm comfortable answering right now at this stage. I think we're still, we're dating, we're talking. Certain thing, you could be kind. You don't need to just create this hard line.
And that's why I say, just to speak to that point you just made.
Or if you want to create a hard line, you could do that too. But
but that's why I say, don't lie to yourself.
Yes.
Don't lie to yourself. If you feel like the person is monopolizing off of your time and they're trying to isolate you into a little box that you're not ready to be in, then you need to stay true to you. You need to say, no, I'm not okay with this. I don't like it. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing, is that sometimes we'll try to just go along to get along. And in that, we kind of lie to ourselves that it's okay that they're crossing this line. It's okay that I'll just give them a bly, or I'll just, no. That's not the way it works.
And another technique you could use, before we move on, I'll move on after this. Instead of saying no, one way is to just say no, straight, period, point blank, and that is your prerogative, straight up. I'm here for that as well. For even if you have a hard time saying that, or you just for some reason want to extend somebody kindness, maybe it's not somebody dating, maybe it's even a friend, who's just like emotionally draining you, and you just say, they ask you something, as you just say yes, and instead of no, say yes, and this is what I need, or yes, here's what you can do. Yes, so you're not necessarily coming down with a no, but your yes comes with some conditions.
Well, and that's fair. I'll say what I gotta say, move on with that as well. But when you're setting boundaries, you have to first know what they are. Yes. You have to first know what they are. Don't try to wing it. No, because I find that when you try to wing it and you don't have a clear, concise idea of what that boundary is for you, that people can kind of sway how you feel about it. And so again, stay true to you. If you don't like it, it's a boundary for you. It doesn't matter how you want to say it, as long as you remain true to that boundary. You know what I'm saying? So, and sometimes you have to be firm with people. You understand? Because people will always test limits. They'll always test limits. So that's why you have to have a clear, concise idea of what that is, what that boundary is, and how you choose to address it with that person. I think it depends on your relationship with that person. Because if it's my coworker, no is no. No is no, heifer. I said no. Thank you. Now, if it were a family member, if it were you, I'd be like, okay, you know what? Then I would go with what you're saying. Yeah, you know what I mean?
There's scenarios where that's what I'm saying. It's like for people where the hard no is just either not an option or you're just not there yet. The hard no is always okay, but you're just not there yet. And with certain people, certain relationships, then there's also the yes and yes, some kind of compromise.
Definitely. And how you go, but also depending on who you're dealing with, is you'll go about it a different way, right? Like you'll go about it with different tactics. But all in all, I think in general, people should stay true to themselves. And I think it would be easier instead of trying to, please everybody. Because I've noticed one thing about myself as I've gotten older: saying no is not a problem for me. Like when I was younger, I would be like, oh, well, and now I'm just like, no, I don't want to do that. No, thank you. And I noticed that even people who are older than me, no is like their second language. Like they just love to say this word. Like they have no problem. Like people who are older than me, a lot older than me, they've lived life. So they don't give a shit what you think. You know what I'm saying? They don't care how you feel. This is what's good for me. And that's that. Either you accept it or you don't. So, anyhow, we're going to move on into the workout.
The workout.
And this workout, my friends, is going to be a little on the deep side. But hopefully, talking through it can help us heal through this traumatic situation. And that is the Texas shooting. Now, it's been in the news. It's not going to come out the news anytime soon. And I'm glad, because it needs to be discussed. It needs to be investigated. We need to know more. We need to understand more about all of this. But what I will say is with this Texas shooting, I'm noticing a trend. Okay. I'm noticing a trend.
What's the
and
trend?
It's not a good trend. Okay. It's a horrible trend. And I also want to speak of the trend as well. I don't want to get too deep into my conspiracy theories on this because people might think I'm crazy. But I really don't give a damn. Anyways, but I don't want to get too deep. But my thoughts on this whole shooting. So we know that, in Texas, this young man who was 18 years of age, I want to point that out, 18 years of age, who, from my understanding, his descent he's not just white, like I think is of Hispanic descent, decided that he was not only going to shoot his grandmother, but was going to go to an elementary school and shoot up the place. And from the last count I heard is 21 people died. Mm-hmm. Majority of which were babies between grade 1, which is roughly like 5 to 6, no, around 6, to grade 4, which is around 9, almost 10. When I saw it, my initial reaction, I shed a tear. I did, because as a parent, I couldn't possibly fathom being one of those parents waiting outside of that school, because they didn't find out right away who was shot. And they kind of had to wait to find that out. And those babies, they've gone to heaven, and God is looking after them and taking good care of them, and Jesus is walking with them. And that's what I choose to focus on, because it's just sick. It's and you know what? I almost don't want to even say sick, because it almost gives an excuse. This is downright demonic. This is the devil. The devil used this young man, and we saw it. I feel like there's certain things that our society tends to use, and it almost sounds like an excuse. And one of them is mental health. They're weaponizing mental health.
Well,
and
I think the nuance
in this case, this is just demonic. This is just his soul was taken over by a devil. But I'm not going to go there too much. But what I will say are my theories on what's going on. So I said earlier, he's an 18-year-old young man. How the hell does an 18-year-old young man get this type of weaponry? Don't know. Yeah. Don't know. Don't understand it. But 2 weeks ago, we have another 18-year-old man who goes into a grocery store and shoots up the place. A few months ago, we had another 18, 19-year-old man, Rittenhouse, who decided to take guns and supposedly go to protect something. I don't know what the hell he thought he was doing, but he took the guns and he shoots and he kills Black people.
He didn't kill Black people.
He killed, one of the person that he killed was Black.
No, they're both white guys.
One of them was, okay, I'm going to double check that. But anyway, because I believe one of them was Black. But that he shot in the crowd at. But
maybe he got injured.
Maybe injured, maybe not killed.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, thank you for correcting me. But it's another young white man who did this. Okay. A few months before him, we had another young white man go into an establishment, a massage parlor, and shoot up all these Asian people. Are you seeing a trend here? Are you seeing how I'm seeing a lot of young white men? I don't understand what's going on here. I really don't understand how they're getting the weaponry. I don't understand how they're flying under the radar. I don't understand how there isn't enough checks and balances in place to stop them from even getting access to this. It baffles me. And so a comment that I wanted to make was, I noticed that from the top situation, that young man, the news started to push this narrative of young white men. Now all of a sudden, we have this last shooting, and he's not white.
Yeah, he's Mexican.
He's Mexican. That made me feel like, is there an agenda that we don't know about? Is there an agenda that we don't know about? Because pretty much all the people that died or were injured were of a minority. Is there an agenda? Jeanette, I'm starting to feel like there's an agenda behind all of these shootings. Now, do I want to say that someone is, in the background, orchestrating all of this for some sort of
but
evil? I don't. But explain this to me.
No, I don't think that. But there's obviously an underlying issue that needs to be addressed, and then so that's where the debate, where unfortunately, in the U.S., especially in the southern states, an 18-year-old can go buy an assault rifle, literally compared to an AR-15, on his 18th birthday, and not go buy himself some rum. He can't like that. Like, we have to think about that scenario. Like, this guy who, not only is he, to me, too young, like you said, you mentioned the other teenagers who he shouldn't even be able to go walk into an establishment and buy a gun, more or less all the trauma and terror that they raise on everybody. But the argument that the politicians, especially in Texas, they're on heavy a fire, especially those who fall into the Republican category. It's, they want to focus on mental health. This was a one-off. People, what they say, guns don't hurt people. People kill people. That same thing. But there's obviously, like, it's always. But the problem I have with the American mindset, and it's the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, that Americans, most, and like not all states have that, even though it's in the amendment. Not all states, or even if they actually all have that right, but there's some, like the eastern, like New York and all the eastern states, they're so regulated that it's like, if you did have a gun, it's a process, and you're going to be able to trace it, and there's some regulation. So I feel like they're doing it right. But then in the South, you could just walk into, like, back in the day, you could walk in Kmart and buy a bloody gun. And I don't know where he got this, but he bought 2 assault rifles, and he could only manage to carry one, but he actually had 2 on him when he got it, when he was driving to the school. He drove into a ditch, and that's kind of how the police were started to get a trail on him. Another thing that I think I need to bring up is, okay, so basically the mental illness, the thing, like you said, it's smoke and mirrors. We know there's mental illness everywhere. You don't see with all the millions of mentally ill people, do you see them shooting up people? The fact that there is access, a boy has access to do this, so that's a problem. So they really Texas needs to really stop the back and forth and the lip service and take a look. But like, the Republicans are not having it. I know it's something so deep seated in the culture, and they're saying with this one, this even surpassed Sandy Hook. And so Sandy Hook, I think, was 20, and now with 21, the death amount for this recent shooting in Texas, Uvalde, it's the largest mass shooting in the U.S. at a school. And it's like this always happens, and unfortunately, I don't feel very optimistic that anything's going to change. As tragic as it is that these young children, and even these teachers, that they really weren't even equipped and they couldn't do anything, but they still tried to shield the babies. And and then it's so sick. What's really sick to me, forget the shooter. I think the shooter was allowed to have access, and I do blame the system there for allowing such easy access to a rifle like that. I'm sorry. Mental illness. There's millions of mentally ill people not shooting up schools. So I'm sorry. I'm tired of hearing that. And but what I really find sick is a lot of the politicians were saying, yeah, we need to arm the teachers. We need to get security guards. This is an establishment for young children to learn and be free and make friends and la-di-da-di-da. and you want to have security people with security fences, all this. It's like, what? That's really sick. If there's any, that's actually the sickest thing I have heard since this incident, that we want to arm teachers. The teachers already aren't paid enough to just do their regular job, and now you want to talk about arming teachers?
But how dare you ask a teacher to do that?
Yep.
That's not their job.
And the other point I wanted to bring up, which that I'm very sickened and disheartened, is that the shooter was in there for about 40 or so minutes shooting up the place, and the police were outside. The police were outside.
Letting the babies die.
Letting them die, not doing anything. And I heard it wasn't until they said an immigration, I think it was an immigration officer, a ranger, I forgot what they called them, border patrol, that was the person that went in and shot him dead. And so can you imagine, the police weren't letting the parents in. They were surrounding the building. Nobody was doing anything.
Nothing.
So, and here's my point. So when there's a traffic stop with a black man.
Thank you.
And he tells you, I'm talking about Philando Castile. He told you, I have a registered weapon in my vehicle, in my glove compartment. It's registered. I have the paperwork. What do I need to do? And you tell him to reach, and he reach, and you light him up with bullets. You lit him up with bullets when he didn't even have anything in his hand.
Now imagine, going back to the teachers, imagine a teacher is armed with a gun. They leave the gun in their car. The teacher is black.
Yeah. Yep.
The teacher is black.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to the school. They have their armor in the car. They get pulled over.
Yeah.
That's even more reason why black people will die.
Yeah.
Because if I'm just going to go teach, and you expect me to be armed with a gun, maybe I'm against guns. Maybe I don't want a gun in my house.
No.
So I'm gonna keep the gun in my car.
Mm-hmm.
Now I get pulled over and shot up and killed because I was going to work.
There you go. I think they want people to have guns, but they only want certain people to have guns.
Well, what it seems like to me with this whole situation, there needs to be a refinement on these laws to have guns.
They just need to have stricter people.
There needs to be flags. There needs to be checks and balances.
Psych evaluations.
Psych evaluations done. There needs to be a whole lot to even be able to have a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people who believe in guns and are pro-guns that will say, well, if we control it here in our state or here in our country, that doesn't mean that it can't come from somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Well, then the borders need to get tightened up. It's easier to control them from coming to your country than being in your country. So if they're being mass produced in your country, then it's harder to control versus them coming from an outside source into your country. As you can see with Canada. Yes, I understand. We have tighter gun laws. However, I'm not saying that we don't have guns. Like, don't play us for no softy here. We have guns up here. However, we control it because we don't manufacture them. We don't manufacture bullets. We don't manufacture guns. We don't have nothing to do with that. You understand? When we want guns, I'm sure we know where to find them and where to find them safely. And we can export them for specific purposes and only those purposes. You can't just have a random gun and go to the Walmart or the Kmart and get ammunition. This is ridiculous. So there has to be some more checks and balances. And I just feel like the agenda is deeper than the gun. The agenda is deeper than the gun. And again, with my conspiracy theories, sometimes they say that in the next, I think, 20 years or so, 20, 30 years, white people will be eliminated. With all of more and more races that are getting together and breeding with white people will be a minority soon enough. And I feel like there's a big fear of that from a lot of white people. I'm sorry. I'm going to call a spade, and this is how I feel. I feel like there's a big, big urge for there to be an increase in white babies being born. That's why we have this abortion. What was it we talked about in the other episode?
Yeah. Well, I definitely think the abortion thing has a lot to do with that.
Well, if you have more babies being born, and you're killing out other minorities, you're increasing your population as a race.
Well, I'm gonna just jump in and say I don't subscribe to that, but I get
where I don't want to. I don't want to, but like the more that I think about it, and the more that I see this happening, why are these young men available? Why is this so easily available?
Well, that's real question.
We're not talking about just a regular schmegular little handgun. Okay, for what they say to protect yourself. We're talking about military grade weapons.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame. These military grade weapons, Jeanette, are specifically made to kill and kill alone. Mm-hmm. Not to wound, not to just get you to, be able to get you to stop. They're made to kill. This is a huge topic, but, I have my own feelings about it, and I'm starting to ponder certain, theories that I might have. And the more that I see this happening, is the sadder I get. But what I will say is that there is a God, and he is not sleeping. He is not sleeping. He's well awake, and he sees what's happening, and he knows what's happening. And I do want to say prayers up to all those families in Texas that their babies are not coming home, that they're going to be burying their babies. You understand? My prayers goes to them. My heart is broken for you. I pray for the betterment of these gun laws in the United States, because it's getting damn near ridiculous, and somebody has to do something. Somebody needs to step up. Somebody needs to take control. Somebody needs to lead, Biden. But anywho, I don't want to leave it all at Biden's foot. You know what I mean? But you are the president. So we need to do some presidential works around here.
Yeah, but the Republicans have the NRA in their pocket, so there's a whole lobbyist of the National Rifle Association pushing and putting pockets in, particularly Republican politicians' pockets. So that's a whole other conversation, and that's why we're seeing all these sick comments from those politicians.
And that's why I said there's a bigger agenda that we're not. I feel like we're just not even scratching the surface of this bigger agenda that is behind. There's a lot of wickedness that's behind it. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to dive too deep into that. We are, going to sum this up right here and try to end it on a positive note. And I will say again, prayers up to all those families in Texas. Prayers up to all the families that, lost someone in Tops in Buffalo. Keep hope alive that these laws will change. Do what you gotta do. Like Jeanette said last week, we're gonna say it like that.
Do what you gotta do.
What you got to do. Because no one's gonna wrong you at the end of the day. No one's gonna wrong you if you protect your family. You understand? Protect yourself, protect your family. But most importantly, stay prayed up. Because these streets are nothing to play with. You hear me? Nothing at all to play with. And we hope that everybody out there, that you were somehow enlightened in some sort of way in our conversations about this. But we do hope that your hearts and your minds, they stay activated on this week's show, and that whether you lead with your heart or your mind, please stay passionate, stay thoughtful, think of think of humanity. Please, people, think of humanity. Be kinder, be more graceful, gracious, merciful. And with that said, deuces.
Bye.